Let's get started. I'm cramped up, but I do the best I can. All right. I'm in a cafe that's small, but it's near to where I need to be. So it is what it is. Let's get going. Welcome. This is the free online astrotheology course. Our textbook is the Gospel and the Zodiac, The Secret Truth About J.C. the Christ Figure by the Reverend Bill Darrell-El. All right, so it begs the question, as I always say, why is the truth about J.C. the Christ Figure a secret? Why, and what's the evidence? What's the proof? And it also begs the question, what is the Zodiac doing in the Gospels? All right, where's the evidence? What's the proof? That's what we are dealing with in this book. Okay? These are not I didn't write the book. So I'm presenting this scholar's evidence, his proof. Okay? The value that I have is my analysis, my insight and analysis. Otherwise, you can do this on your own. You don't need me to do it. Unfortunately, many of the people viewing this presentation have low reading comprehension levels, all right? No matter what age you might be due to the school systems, right? So that's the reality, okay? So my analysis has even further or greater value, okay? Also, the school systems have failed, even the universities, they failed miserably to teach analytical skills, to teach students how to think analytically. Critical thinking skills are very poor in North America and in the Western world in general. All right, so that further increases the value that I bring to these presentations. Otherwise, y'all, you can pick this book up and read it yourself. Some of y'all may read the whole paragraph or read 2 sentences and not understand what you read, or you may forget. Some of you will read a whole paragraph, not understand what you read, not even remember. Okay, let alone for a subheading, a heading, or a chapter. 2 chapters, the entire book. So that's my value. That's why you should be here, okay? That's why you should stick around. So we left off, I said that I would return to a chapter that I didn't, not chapter, but a paragraph, that I didn't have enough time to really go into. So that's on page 209, okay? The second chapter, I'm sorry, the second paragraph. Uh-oh. Hold on, y'all. I dropped my camera. I should not have put my book on the table. So I had that coming. All right. So page 209, we're going to start with this paragraph right here, okay? So we'll talk a little bit more about it. It's the paragraph right above the subheading, the yearly cycle from Pisces to Aries, okay? So let's get into it. This will be a very, very quick video. It is impossible that both John and Mark can be right on this. Okay, so watch the video that I did immediately before this video. Okay, so both John and Mark have the event where the Christ figure, J.C. the Christ figure, cursed the fig tree. One had it at the beginning of J.C.'s ministry. The other gospel writer had that event at the end of JC's ministry. So that's a big problem, right? Especially if you look at this as though you are a lawyer in a court of law, all right? And let's say this is a murder case, all right? And you need to establish the sequence of events to be able to prove where your client was, or where the person who's being charged with the crime, to prove where he was, right? You need to prove it by beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay? So look at it as though you are a lawyer, either the prosecutor or the defense lawyer. One witness says it's at the beginning, it happened at the beginning. The other witness, and they're saying they're eyewitnesses, right? Said it happened at the end of his ministry. So somebody is lying, right? Somebody committed perjury. Either one is lying or both of them are lying. In which case they committed perjury. And once you catch a person lying, once you catch a witness lying, you do not have to believe. You need to disregard everything that witness said after that. Everything else is considered a lie. Okay? So we look at this from that point of view. So if John is lying, everything John said from that point, or all of the testimony that John gave, is a lie. You must disregard it all. Okay? Remember, scholars, John is the apostle who said that JC is the only begotten son of capital God. The other apostles didn't say that, to my knowledge. They said he was the Messiah. They never said he was the only begotten Son of God. God, in this case, meaning the creator of the vast universe. Only John said that. So if John is lying, if his testimony is a lie regarding the timing of the event where JC cursed the fig tree, then he is also lying that JC is the only begotten Son of God. Do you follow the logic? We're looking at this not religiously, not even literally. We're looking at this as though we are lawyers. Okay? As though we are lawyers and we are involved in a capital crime, a murder case. Do you understand? Chew on that. This Black Cafe carry out. For the last maybe 2 weeks, week or two, I don't drink the whole cup. I keep it with me until I get tired of it and I throw it away. But I don't drink the whole thing. All right. So please take a moment, a few more moments to get the import, to think about the information I just delivered to you. If John is wrong and Mark is right, now, scholars, Mark's gospel is the first gospel. Mark's gospel is the first gospel. Matthew, Luke, and John came after Mark's gospel. If Mark's testimony, can I get a witness? If Mark's testimony about the timing of this event is correct, then John's testimony makes him a liar. He committed perjury. Okay? Therefore, everything John said is a lie. We must discard it Throw it out. If you throw out John's testimony that JC is the only begotten Son of God, if you throw that testimony out, then JC is no longer a God. He's simply one of many messiahs. One of many messiahs who came to lead the House of Yasharala back into the blessings. Okay? Back into the blessings. Usually when you hear the meaning of Messiah, they give you the negative, right? He came to fight wars and he came to do... We can simplify it. The Messiah comes to bring the House of Yasharala back into the blessings. Okay? That's the essence of it. Right? Because why? We're looking at this contractually. We're looking at it contractually. When you are in the curses, you are oppressed. You have an oppressor or oppressors, plural. And you need to get them up off of you. Right? And that will be done militarily. At least that's how it was done with Joshua, right? And if you read the Bible scholars, they're going to tell you that the Hebrew meaning of JC or Jesus is Joshua. So they're linking Jesus to the Messiah Joshua, who led the House of Yasharala into the promised land, right? He led them into the promised land. That means he led them into the blessings. Clear? Simple, right? So if JC is not the only begotten Son of God, again, that means he's any other Messiah. Only JC never led the people into battle. He never led them back into the promised land. JC was talking about a whole new kingdom. So what does that tell you, scholars? What does that tell you about JC? He never fulfilled any of the expectations of the Messiah that was to come and save the House of Yasharala. He never did it. He was a complete flop when you look at it that way. Do you all understand the logic? Can you see it? This, in fact, is probably the primary reason, or maybe the secondary reason. There are two reasons why the quote-unquote Jewish people don't accept JC as the Messiah. One, he didn't fulfill any of the expected or any of the expectations in terms of the roles and duties of a Messiah. What are they? Go back and look at Joshua, who led the people into the promised land. Okay? He never did anything like that. They just tagged him with the name that, according to them in Hebrew, means Joshua. Do y'all see it? So they linked him through language. They linked JC, the Christ figure, through language, through a word, through etymology, to Joshua of the Old Testament. Do y'all see that? All right. See how language is used? So this is casting spells. This is magic. This is creating impressions and images and perceptions, beliefs in your mind through the magic of words. All right, through the magic of words, casting spells with a pen, ink, and paper. All right? But JC never did any of those things. So that's one reason why the so-called Jewish people, the religious people, don't accept JC as the Messiah. The second is the point I just brought to your attention. John calls JC the only begotten Son of God. Okay? So that's extra contractual. That's not in the words that were spoken to Moses that our nation agreed to? That's not in our contract. It's not in the contract. So, where are you getting this from? And you expect some performance out of me, and it's not in the contract? And I'm supposed to revere, reverence, worship this only begotten Son of quote unquote God? No, get out of here with that. So that's the Jewish people point of view. All right? And you will recall, well, that's enough on that. Let's get back to the topic so I can get through this paragraph. The point is that if John lied in his testimony, regardless of his reason, regardless of any goal he was trying to achieve with the lie, regardless of how sincere he was, that caused him to tell a lie is a lie is a lie is a lie. And so therefore everything he said has to be disregarded because it is probably a lie. All right, we have to presume it to be a lie. Okay, that's the point. Okay, so therefore JC is not the only begotten Son of God. John is the only one who said that. It is impossible that both John and Mark can be right on this. That is the date and that is when JC the Christ figure cursed the fig tree. One said in the beginning, one said at the end. The two accounts cannot be reconciled. In other words, there's no way you can explain it. And all attempts to reconcile them fail lamentably. Okay, there's no way you can justify. Okay, there's no way you can square somebody saying, well, it happened at the beginning, and the other eyewitness says it happened at the end. There's no way around that. Somebody's lying or both are lying, right? Either the event never happened, or Mark is lying, or John is lying, okay? But the discrepancy is really irrelevant. Oh, now here they are, explaining it away. Now they want you to be stupid. Now remember, you're dealing with this as though you are a lawyer defending your client in a murder case, okay? Or you are a prosecutor trying to get justice on behalf of a family whose youngins or kinfolk were murdered, brutally murdered, tortured, okay? Here we see the author and the Christian theologians and scholars both, okay, and scholars, priests, bishops, cardinals, pastors, reverends, deacons, presenting you with this. Well, the lie doesn't matter. That they both gave different dates of that event doesn't matter. It's clearly a lie, but that don't matter. Right? In other words, yeah, man, he stole your money, but it don't matter. Or yeah, man, he canceled or terminated your little 6-month-old, but it don't matter. You see how foolish this is? In other words, what? Justice does not matter. That's what this is saying. Justice does not matter. Let me read this again. But the discrepancy is really irrelevant. But the discrepancy is really irrelevant. That means justice doesn't matter. Do y'all see it? Now remember, this is a court of law. You're fighting for your client's life. You need to establish whether the murder took place at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. All right? One witness says it took place at the beginning, the other the end. Okay? If the murder took place where your client was somewhere where there were witnesses to prove that he was there, then your client is innocent. All right? Y'all see it? Or if the evidence puts the defendant at the scene of the murder with the knife or the gun in his hand and he all bloody, then he's guilty. But this scholar and those, if y'all understand me, put a 1 in the comment section, because I'm feeling like I'm not making myself clear. All right? If you can see that they're telling you that the fact that one of these gospel writers, John or Mark, lied because their dates don't match, somebody lied, somebody committed perjury, they're telling you that that doesn't matter. Therefore, justice doesn't matter. Okay? Both authors have the crucifixion occurred during the Passover season, despite the historical unlikelihood of this. In other words, John and Mark said the Passover, the JC the Christ figure was crucified during Passover season. Okay? Now that's season, okay? The season. All right? The season. Okay? The author is saying that historically that's unlikely. Okay? Why is it unlikely? Because it is symbolically appropriate that it should be so. Okay, so now we've got to get into symbolism. Now when you get into symbolism, you need to accept the symbolism, right? That's the meaning of the person who's giving you the meaning of the symbol, right? You need to accept that. Both authors have the crucifixion occurred during the Passover season, despite the historical unlikeliness of it. Why did they do it? Why did they do it? Because it is symbolically appropriate that it should be so. In other words, that JC died so that you could live. That JC is your Savior because he died for you. That's why they said it happened during Passover season. Why? The symbolism of the ancient priest. So that the symbolism of the priest sacrificing the lamb during Passover could be attached to JC. In other words, they wanted, these gospel writers, John and Mark, wanted to be able to say this: just as the priest sacrificed the lamb on Passover, so, and they put the blood on the door of their houses so that the death angel would pass over their houses. In other words, they would be saved. Well, JC is the lamb of modern times, of the new covenant, right? And he's going to die, give himself as a sacrifice, okay, as a lamb, a sacrificial lamb, so that you can be saved and live, just like the ancient House of Yasharala were saved, okay? They're trying to connect JC to the Exodus story, to the practice of the priest sacrificing lambs every Passover. All right? This is why the author is saying that they have JC being crucified at Passover. So in a few words, this is why they're using that time period, Passover season, so that they could say this: the priest sacrificing the lambs at Passover prefigured JC being crucified. Now y'all should remember that before JC was placed on the cross. The image on the cross was a sheep. I've shown the sheep on the cross in the 506 Curses course that I teach every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All of y'all are welcome to come and check it out, okay? The link is in the description area of this video. All right, so do y'all see why they use that symbology? Again, they're telling you that justice does not matter. Christianity represents itself by Pisces. Pisces is duplicity, sneaky, cheaters, liars, thieves, fishers of men. What does that mean? That means you put a net out. You put a net out. A net is a trap. You put a net out to trap men, to trap their mind. Okay? So they placed the event of Passover, they placed it, I'm sorry, not Passover, they placed Christ's crucifixion during Passover season because that's a net to trap your mind. They are fishers of men. Okay? To catch you. You're the fish. They caught you mentally. And you believe it. All right? Why? Because you've already accepted the story about when the House of Yasharala, when they were going to leave Egypt. The death angel, remember the blood, the lamb, right? The bitter herb. Y'all remember the whole story? The priest, every Passover, they remember it by doing what? Sacrificing a lamb. So they got you to associate JC with those events. Okay? All right? And now the honor and the respect that you associate with the Passover, you put, or you give it to JC. How? Through words, through a story, through transportation narrative, or narrative transportation. Y'all see that? That's called magic. That's called casting a spell. And then when you sing songs about it, those are enchantments. You're being enchanted. When you hear sermons about it, you're being enchanted. When you see images, you're being enchanted. Charmed. All right? Y'all see the magic here? The magic is that you were captured mentally. And you have been taken into the narrative, transported into the narrative. And now it's real to you. It's part of your reality. You make decisions about it. You worry about it. You rejoice about it. Y'all see that? That's magic. That's what magic is. Okay? That's what magic is. Now let's continue. All right. Okay, so both authors, that's Mark and John, have the crucifixion occurred during Passover season, despite the historical unlikelihood of the crucifixion occurring during Passover season. Okay, why did they have it occur during Passover season? Here's why. Because it is symbolically appropriate. The symbolism is meant to get you to transport yourself into the narrative, to connect JC with the Passover, the sacrifice of the Lamb. All right, the leaving of Moses and the saving of the House of Yasharala. All right, that's why. So because it is symbolically appropriate that it should be so. John is concerned to show JC as the sacrificial lamb whose death was prefigured in the centuries-old practice of animal sacrifices or animal offerings. And so John makes the time of his execution or his crucifixion correspond with the time of the ritual killing. So the ritual killing is the sacrifices. Notice he says John makes. So they're telling you that they lied. that justice does not matter. They just lied in order to do what? In order to get you to believe. In order to give some respect on JC's name. If y'all know what I mean. Put some respect on his name. All right? They want you to believe that all of that animal sacrificing represented JC coming and sacrificing his life once and for all time. That's why they did it. Just made it up, as you clearly see. It's not my opinion, this is the evidence. Okay, this is the evidence. Look at this as though you are a lawyer fighting a murder case in a court of law. Okay? Either working to get your innocent client off, or to get the real murderer locked up. All right? Look at it that way. Don't look at it as religion. And my pastor said this, and this article said that. Look at it as if you are involved in a murder case and you're a lawyer. All we want to know is the evidence. What are the facts? What's the evidence? Everything else doesn't matter in a court of law. Y'all go over there and talk about doctrine. That has no place over here in a court of law. Okay? You go play in the toy room with that doctrine talk. Okay? All of the real men and women come into the courtroom and let's deal with law. Okay? That's how we're looking at this. Let's continue. Although we cannot readily discern such a theological motive in Mark, what is he saying? He's saying that they don't see any lies or schemes to discredit Mark. See, theological means doctrine. He didn't Mark, in other words, they're saying Mark wrote his stuff because that's what happened. All right? Remember, theology involves doctrines, beliefs, ceremonies. Okay? So John, according to the author, is the liar. Okay? I know that by what we just read. Although we cannot readily discern such a theological motive in Mark. In other words, Mark didn't try to connect JC to any Hebrew events or practices, whereas John did. Okay? And he lied, and his reason is because he wanted to do what? John is concerned to show JC, that's Jesus for y'all who don't know, as a sacrificial lamb whose death was prefigured by animal sacrifices. That's why John lied, okay? The author is saying Mark didn't do that, so let's continue. All right, although we cannot readily discern such a theological motive in Mark, so Mark is telling the truth, we can legitimately assume from the imagery in Mark's narrative that Mark associates JC's death with the Passover for two reasons. One, or the first. The first is related to the fact that the Passover is a springtime festival. Okay, so why is that important? Why is that important? Passover, that's going to happen when? March 17th, 18th, 19th, 21, maybe 22, right? Depending on the year. That's the beginning of the natural year, according to astrology now. Not ancient astrology. Y'all remember, in ancient astrology, the year began in Virgo. All right, I talked about that a couple videos ago. But in modern astrology, the new year begins in springtime, March, toward the end, middle-ish, March 19, 2021. Okay? What does that mean? That means that the, excuse me, that means that the astrological age was changing, right? So during Moses' time, the astrological age was Aries, okay? So when the astrological age changed, it will change at the equinox, all right? The change will occur physically at the equinox, okay? Let's continue. So the first is related to the fact that the Passover is a springtime festival, so that means we're at the equinox, right? The second reason concerns the approach of the new age of Pisces. Well, there we go. When the equinoctial point would move out of the constellation of the Ram, Ram is Aries, and into the constellation of the Fish. Do y'all see what's happening? Christ is the sacrificial lamb. The sacrificial lamb gets killed, meaning we're leaving the age of Aries, the ram, and entering into the age of Pisces. Christianity represented by the fish. Christ is the sacrificial lamb. Christ is killed. The sacrificial lamb is killed, okay? The end of the age of Aries, the ram. Do y'all see it? The beginning of the new age is what? Pisces. The beginning of the new age is Pisces, right? Pisces is Christianity, the fish. Clear? Who else is a fish? Dogon. Half man, half fish. Okay, the Raphaim. Oannes. Oannes. Y'all go look up Oannes. Oannes. Look up Oannes. Look up the Dagon. Dagon. Also look up Dogon. Dogon. Look up that deity. I think his name is Monez or something like that. But he has the same profile as Oannes. Do y'all see how this is all astrological? Do you see how it's all astrological? The priests sacrificing lambs on Passover, what? Prefigured or represented the eventual end of the age of Aries. Y'all see that? That's what they're doing astrologically through symbology, through metaphors. This is why Christ is the sacrificial lamb. Let's continue. The Passover. What else? The sacrificial lamb. Okay, let's continue. The first cycle is the ordinary yearly cycle, which ends with the sun moving from Pisces to Aries at the equinox. The sun moving from Pisces to Aries at the equinox. So the equinox, remember, is only March. Okay, that's just a date of the year. March 19, 17, 18, somewhere around there. Okay? I think a couple years ago it may have been on March 19, 21. Okay, that's the equinox. I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so the first cycle is the ordinary cycle, which ends with the sun moving from Pisces to Aries at the equinox. The second cycle is that of the great year. Now they're telling us to see the forgotten language of the stars. The Forgotten Language of the Stars is a book that's inserted. The Forgotten Language of the Stars is inserted in the beginning of this book that we're working with. So download the Gospel and the Zodiac and the secret, the Forgotten Language of the Stars is inside of this book, okay, y'all? So you'll find it inside this book. All right? Okay, so the second is the cycle of the great year. See the Forgotten Language of the Stars, in which the equinoctial point itself moves backward through the constellations of the zodiac. So that's called the precession of the equinoxes, y'all. I'm going to go through that when we go through the book, The Forgotten Language of the Stars. But the essence of it is that it appears to our eyes that the zodiacs are moving backward. Okay? I'll explain it when we get there. Okay, we will examine them in turn. So, the next subheading that we'll deal with, not in this presentation, we're going to deal with the yearly cycle from Pisces to Aries. All right? And this yearly cycle is probably going to be 2 or 3 videos. It might be 2 or 3, it might be 3 videos. Might be 4 videos. Let me check. Hold on, let me see. It might be 4, it might be 5 videos, y'all. The yearly cycle from Pisces to Aries might be 5 videos. It depends on how much explaining I have to do. Okay? And then the equinoctial cycle, Aries to Pisces, that will be just 1 video. Okay, so I hope y'all learned something from this presentation. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Make sure you buy my Hunter says hello. Shalom, Hunter. Good to see you here. Welcome. Welcome. Good to see you here. I hope you learned something. I hope it was worth your time. Okay? So now listen up, y'all. If you feel it in your heart to support me writing the book of the law in ancient Ibaryath and modern English, showing every Ibaryath word in every verse, showing how every word in every verse was rendered, including the etymological meaning of the Ibaryath word, its part of speech, the rough, unfinished sentences or verses, and the finished verses. Okay, if you support that, if you feel it in your heart that we need to have our own copy of the book of the law, and I just don't see how you could not think we don't need our own copy of the book of the law, especially when we examine this kinds of material and you see how we've been lied to. We've been played. Gangster played, right? Played like a bitch, to be quite frank. Do y'all agree? So if you agree that we need our own book of the law, then support it, all right? I will put back in all of the nature stuff, all information related to nature. Okay, so not only nature, but natural law and natural law concepts. It will all be put back. So what are these natural things I'm talking about? I'm talking about those references to the stars, the planets, and moon. Okay, I'm going to put it back in there exactly as our ancient ancestors knew it. How do I know? Because I'm looking at it from the Ibaryath point of view. All right, and I'm applying linguistic principles. Okay, so everything that I do, y'all can learn how to do very easily. I've written many books on ancient Ibaryath. If I were you, I would start off with 911 Ibaryath Rescue. That's a purple book where I give you the pictographs, I give you their meaning, their symbology, everything to do with the pictographs, all right, except the cultural context. Cultural context is also very important. So you'll get everything, all of that and more by subscribing to the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course, y'all. That's a streaming course that I have on zionlawschool.org. So go there, subscribe to the class. There's no contract. You can cancel anytime, but I don't see how in the world you ever could, right? You're going to see some amazing stuff, amazing Ibaryath word studies, or some of y'all call it Hebrew word studies, okay? You're going to see some phenomenal stuff. Also dealing with astrology, okay, but from a different point of view, from the sun's point of view, the S-U-N sun, okay? You'll see that in there, and you'll get grammar, okay? It's loaded with information. It's like 112 or 13 videos, all right? It's almost free. It's almost free, just $10 a month. I could easily charge a whole lot more. All right, so I've written many, many books. I have advanced book, 101, what is it called? 101 Phoenician Hebrew. That's a book where I present the 10 Commandments with the Ibaryath, okay? I show the 10 Commandments in Ibaryath. I give their etymological meanings, okay? Parts of speech, and how the words are constructed. Also, with the I Can Read book series, okay, that's an examination of Deuteronomy chapter 28. I give you everything in the ancient Ibaryath. I give you the etymological meanings of every word, parts of speech, and I show you the morphology, or in other words, how the words are constructed. Okay? And in the class, in the 506 The Curses Course class, I actually show you how to translate the documents. We actually review. We literally examine all of the text. We evaluate the quality of the KJV's translation, all of the translations. You come to that class, you'll learn how to examine and evaluate any translation of the Hebrew Scriptures. All right? You'll learn how to do everything I'm doing. I don't keep it a secret. I don't keep it a secret. Okay? There's no secret. So the links to several of my books are in the description area of this video. Don't buy them on Amazon.com. Don't buy them on any of the online retailers. Buy them on my website, zionlawschool.org. Because those websites, they take way too much money. It makes it not even worth selling your books on those websites, okay? So if you want to support my work, my ministry, I'm teaching, helping our people return to the Most High, helping you escape the bondage of religion. Yes, you've been caught by a fisher of men, and you are in bondage mentally, okay? Some of y'all got one foot out of bondage and the other one in, but you're still in bondage. All right? As long as you have those beliefs impacting you, consciously or unconsciously, you're still in bondage. And as long as you're acting on them, you're still under the jurisdiction, the authority of the Dogon. All right? You will still have drama, pain, chaos, etc. in your life until you fully return to the Most High, which is abandoning all of those belief systems. They no longer affect you emotionally, and you no longer make decisions based on them. You're no longer afraid of burning in hell. You're no longer hoping for an external deity to come save you. That means to do something for you. You've developed a habit of doing things for yourself. Yes, you're your own savior. Psalms 82:6, you have become, in your own consciousness, aware that you're your own savior, that you're, quote unquote, God. All right? And I don't mean the creator. But I do mean, let me clarify that. Let me clarify this. Well, I'll save it for another video. So we're out, okay? Y'all support my work. My Cash App is $DrYasapa. If you want to support my project to write the book of the law in Ancient Ibaryath in modern English, easy to read English, y'all support it on my Cash App, $DrYasapa, or paypal.me/Zion Law School, okay? Or if you just want to support my work, if you like the way I teach, if you like the way I talk, if you're learning something and you appreciate the work that I do, support my work. It means a lot to me, okay? I think every educator becomes happier. They feel like their work matters because somebody thinks enough of it to say thank you or to send some support, to show, to demonstrate their support. See, that makes the work a joy and a pleasure, you know? So many times an educator will get up out of bed. Me, myself, I'm up 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, okay? Get everything prepared so that I can get ready. And sometimes, you know, it's work. But when people show they support you, oh, it's really easy. But anyway, only do that if you can and if you feel it in your heart, okay? If you can only give $5, then you should not send it to me. You should keep it, okay? You can send whatever is your excess, only if you feel it in your heart, okay? But anyway, I appreciate y'all being here with me. I hope that you learned something. That's my sincere desire. So I'm going to keep on pushing. I'm going to keep getting better, bringing more every time, doing the best that I can in the moment. I expect for you to do the same. Shalom and Islam to all the Moors.